Hello and welcome back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm Bess Hawthorne and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Last week, the wrong audio was attached for a few hours. If your app is still not playing Bekah's Easter episode part 1, go to your downloads and delete any Come Over for Dinner downloads. Close the app and reopen. It should work. If all else fails, go listen on my website at comeoverfordinner.com under Bekah's blog post. Today, I finish my conversation with my very special guest, Rebekah Merkle, or as I know her, Bekah Merkle. Stay tuned. If you missed part 1, Bekah and I talk about the importance of celebrating Easter, maintaining a great attitude despite the hard work, prep whether you're single or married, and clothing on Easter. Be sure to check out part 1. Now on to part 2. We'll talk about Easter traditions and gifts, and finally, recipes. We're so glad you're here. Okay, let's move on to Easter gifts. We've talked about some traditions. We can talk about traditions too, which I think gifts and traditions overlap. So the wise men brought Jesus gifts in celebration of his birth. Other celebrations are marked by gift giving that flows from our joy of the occasion, such as birthdays. We give gifts, weddings, we take gifts, graduations. The resurrection of our Lord is a far greater celebration than any of these things, and giving gifts, of course, blesses the giver and the receiver. And so sometimes with Christmas, we've heard of commercialism. We talk about that, and same thing, I'm sure, with Easter. Do you have any thoughts on that, like why it's a good thing? And then we'll talk specifically about the gifts that we give.
Sure. I mean, I think it's just part of making the day special and fun, and it was always, different than Christmas, but everything about it is different than Christmas. And I think it should be its own thing. It shouldn't be sort of like a weird sequel to Christmas, like the not as good sequel. And so you don't want to, I think the whole thing is different. So for instance, if you're getting your girls an Easter dress, well, that is giving them a gift, but it's doing it in advance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like something that you necessarily wrap up and open that morning in a stocking or something. So I would just think, it's part of marking the occasion, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What kind of gifts do you give your kids on Easter? Which I know they're grown now, but
yeah,
so I guess I should
now
say
it's
past
just different.
tense.
We would do the fun little Easter basket thing in the morning where you'd come down, or it would be something at the breakfast table. It was never as big as Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't here are your 8 gifts.
Your 8 wrapped presents.
Whatever. It was a lot smaller, and it would just be, just fun, like little things. But yeah, I guess that was probably more the level of what we did.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? What did you do?
Well, I think for our kids, I don't remember doing baskets.
Okay.
A lot of people do baskets. I have a sister, Esther. She wanted to get away from some of the cheap plasticky things like you're talking about, which there's a place for some of that. But she did baskets, and she said in her baskets she put art supplies, nature things like a guidebook or a seed packet or binoculars or
fun.
Or things that were summery and artistic, things that her kids were interested in. And, of course, candy. I remember my younger sisters having chocolate bunnies every year. I may have had chocolate bunnies. I don't know for myself. I just remember having to have the Cadbury egg every year.
Sure.
And then when I became an adult, it was like, what was so fabulous about these?
I remember feeling really thwarted by them all being hollow. Everything that looked like it was a big amount of chocolate was not.
Yeah, I know. And I guess my mom, I remember getting a Cadbury egg every year. So obviously she allowed me to buy one, or she provided one as a surprise.
Exactly.
I just don't remember. I don't think we did baskets like on a regular basis. I think it was more chocolates.
Yeah.
But for my kids, a huge thing was always the Easter egg hunt. And so for me, it was doing candy and Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at some point we gave them presents, like maybe I'm sure we did. I'm sure there was something we gave them. One person on a podcast mentioned books. They give books
That's a fun
every
idea. Yeah.
year. So I'm sure we came up with presents, but the Easter eggs had to be stuffed, and they had to be stuffed with candy, of course. But as they got older, money became a part of it, and that was super fun. So that when they hunted, it was just a big competition to see who could find the silk. We also bought a silver and gold egg, and just different ones. There was one that was so tiny. It was like, who is ever going to find this? But it had the most money in it.
Nice. That's fun.
This little mini egg.
Yeah.
So the Easter egg hunt was a really big deal at our house.
That's fun. That's really fun.
So, yeah.
We had an Easter egg hunt gone wrong one year when we had, I don't know, it was a big gang over for dinner, and some of the college kids were like, we'll go hide the eggs. So, and my kids were little at the time. And so the college kids were much older than mine. They went out and hid all the eggs, and then I don't know, a few weeks later, our furnace wasn't working.
Oh, no.
We were trying to figure it out, and we couldn't. It just, everything was a mess. Then it started working again, and then it was broke again. Anyway, by the time we got the guy out, oh, no. It wasn't working. And then one of our kids said, when Ben was out looking at the little exhaust pipe, they were like, oh, yeah, somebody did put an Easter egg in there. And so one of the kids had tried to get it and had pushed it, and it had gone all the way down into the furnace. And so Ben problem solved it by getting the shop vac and duct taping it to the pipe, and he sucked it out. So it was like, we got it. Then the furnace wasn't working later. Finally had the guy come out to look at it. He couldn't figure it out. Finally, eventually one of us mentioned how there had been an Easter egg in there, and it turned out there were two.
You should have kept the shop back going.
I know. And that egg had made its way down into the furnace somehow, or
and
too
of course
close
they're
to the
plastic
furnace.
and melting everywhere.
Or it might have been a real egg. I actually don't remember.
That's another fun tradition. Did y'all dye eggs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
we did too.
We love that.
Yeah, that was a really fun tradition before Easter. I mean, speaking of celebrating over days, we definitely did that well before.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of decorate them, and they can look at their eggs and pick their favorite. Yeah. And one time there was a kit where you could put all these weird eyeballs on them. And like stickers. You could do stickers on your eggs. And
right.
We did lots of that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's always fun.
Any other traditions that you can think of?
Oh, man. No, we always did the Easter egg hunt. And one year that devolved into all the guys throwing the eggs.
Of course it did.
From the porch, trying to get it into the birdhouse that was way up high on the birch tree. And I think somehow they had attached this ancient birdhouse. Probably, it felt like when the tree was much shorter. I don't know how anyone could have decided to scale all that way up and tack up a birdhouse. But anyway, there were just obliterated hard-boiled eggs all over my yard. And the squirrels had a great time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It feeds the animals. That actually reminds me, I'm pretty sure mine might have done baseball in the backyard with hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe see who could get it the farthest, that sort of thing. Yeah, there's always multiple uses.
I know.
For these sorts of things.
Yeah. So in some years, we've had it be a blizzard, but some years it's beautiful out, and we've been able to do an outdoor meal on our porch. That's been really fun. So just depends on the year. And sometimes it's in March, and sometimes it's in April.
Like
and
this
so
year
there's
it's in late April.
A very big swing on that.
What you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're in the South, I mean, especially as late as it is this year, you could definitely plan something outside, which would make it a really fun time. Yeah. You could plan lots of things outside. For the rest of us, we may be inside depending on whether it rains or snows, you know.
Exactly.
But one year in the South, we did do an Easter egg hunt inside because I think it was pouring rain. And I was very nervous about that because we had never done that before. And where and what rooms you can go into and do I want you all over the house. And we just did it, and it was a blast. It just ended up being fine. I don't remember what rules we laid down, but it was, you had to have a lot of creativity.
Yeah. Be ready to roll with it.
Yeah. Be ready to just go and have fun. I had a student mention recently that they found an egg in their yard, and it was from last year, and it still had chocolate inside. He told me how it looked. It didn't sound very appealing. I'm like, did you eat it?
Yeah.
That's the big question. I don't think he did.
Oh, okay. Showed good judgment.
Yeah, he showed good judgment. Now we can talk about recipes.
Sounds good.
The grand build-up. Food. It's all about the food.
Indeed.
You mentioned that your menu has changed from ham to lamb. Tell us about the lamb meal that you create.
Yeah, so we always grill it. It's a leg of lamb that's boned and butterflied. And then you marinate it, you rub it all over with salt and pepper, and I think garlic and pepper flakes, and then put it in this marinade overnight, and then just grill it. And it is amazing. And you save some of the marinade and serve it as a sauce over the top. Tons of fresh herbs, lots of green onions, capers, mint, parsley, lemon, pepper flakes. It's delicious. And olive oil, lemon juice, lemon zest, olive oil. So it's really fresh, really zippy, zingy. It's
That sounds amazing.
Very good. I love that one. And then you just thinly slice it and serve it like that. And the very best year, we cannot duplicate it because Ben put it on the grill. Then somehow I needed something from the store. So he was going to run before the guests were coming, he was going to just dash to the store and back. And he made it about halfway there. And I look out and the grill is a fireball, like an entire huge fireball outside. And I called him because I'm like, I don't even know where the knobs are. Like, I don't do the grill. I don't know which ones. It's flames every direction. So he comes screaming home. And I throw him pot holders as he's sprinting from the street. and he dove into the flames and managed to turn it off. But it melted, the entire lid of the grill was melted into like a cavern on top. But it was the most delicious lamb we've ever had.
Truly flame grilled.
And it was so much fat on the lamb. And I think he had turned it down and put the lid down because he was going to be gone for a little bit, but too much had dripped down into the bottom, and it
got on
for
fire.
Sure could have burned the whole house down because it was close to the house. I mean, with wood siding. Anyway, it was a mercy that it didn't. It did in the grill, but
that was the last time that grill ever grilled lamb.
It was a very intense inferno that lamb was in, and it was real good.
Char-broiled.
Yep.
So does a leg of lamb feed an entire crowd? Like how many would you say? And where do you buy a whole leg of lamb?
Yeah, most butchers, especially around Easter. But you might want to go, depending on where you live in the country, you might want to place an order in advance. And if you want the butcher to bone and butterfly it for you, you should talk to him also, because sometimes they have it
ready to
boned,
just put on there.
Sometimes not. If you're buying it frozen, you can get it bone in, and then there's lots of videos that'll tell you how to cut the bone out and butterfly it yourself. But it's just easy to get the butcher to do it. And you can get them at Costco. I feel like you can get boned ones at Costco. It's been a while since I've looked. Anyway, so they're usually easy to source. And if I have a big crowd, I would do a couple and probably a ham.
Just for backup.
Yeah.
Or in case the kids really were just wanting to see ham.
Yeah. Although I feel like I often don't do enough lamb, because I do think Judah might have been mentioning that he never gets any lamb on Easter because the kids go through last.
All he remembered was the flatbread.
Flatbread and no lamb. Yeah, so you might need to do like 3/4 of a lamb.
For your one teenage son. Well, young 20s.
3 of 4 legs were served.
If they're still growing, he wants his own portion.
Exactly. It depends on how big it is. But I tend to figure about half a pound of meat per person.
Okay.
But it depends on your crowd, too. If it's all ladies, it's different than if it's all college boys. So.
Yeah, that's true. What do you serve with your grilled lamb? You mentioned a salsa with it?
Yeah, it's like a fresh, that's just the olive oil lemon thing with the herbs, salsa verde. But it's really just olive oil with a lot of stuff in it, which you do have to kind of stir it up. If you serve it on the side, all the stuff goes to the bottom, and it's a nice little layer of oil on top. So if you just pour it out, you've just dolloped some oil on your. So you do have to just kind of keep it refreshed,
Tell them to stir before spooning on top of their lamb.
Yeah, but it is really good. We do lots. There's certain things that I feel like are kind of non-negotiable, because you have to have deviled eggs for some reason. I don't really know why, but you do.
My husband has to have deviled eggs.
Yeah,
on
my
Easter.
Husband detests a deviled egg. So
is it Judah again who's like,
mind
where are the deviled eggs?
I just feel bound by tradition.
Okay.
Like I don't know if my family would notice if I didn't have them.
But somewhere in your soul, it's telling you, yes, the deviled egg is upon us today of all days.
Exactly. And it's, I feel like a potato salad is also something that needs to happen.
Potatoes.
And I've got a couple different potato salads that I feel like I alternate with, but some version of potato, but usually cold, not a hot potato for some reason.
This is where we differ. Although I'm thinking of my ham recipe, my ham menu. So we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. See, if it was ham, I would go hot potatoes.
Okay. I could see a cold potato with your lamb.
Yeah. I don't know. It's more like now that I think about this, have I ever done a hot one? I don't know if I have. Seems like it's always cold. I will do like an orzo salad maybe with it, or Israeli couscous, something.
Yeah, your menu definitely makes me think of the Mediterranean, so I would think more of what you're talking about.
And the flatbreads and deviled eggs doesn't work with that, but whatever.
No, it doesn't.
They just slide right
but
in there.
I feel like they're a great appetizer.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's true.
You could serve them with the meal too, but if you set them out ahead of time, people are getting their little bit of bite of protein, and then they can start the menu.
Yeah, exactly. Some people really feel strongly that Jell-O needs to be a part of it, but I don't know. If I'm hosting, I generally don't remember that.
Yeah, no, me either. My grandma always had a Jell-O salad, and I would pick out the mandarin oranges and pineapple bits. Those are the best parts. She could serve it all different ways. Like there could be a green with some marshmallow and maybe some pecans and who knows what, but it would be the fruit inside that I would just dig out.
No, a Jell-O salad is against my religion, but the Jenkses would always do these Jell-O jigglers like you have never seen before on Easter. They are the most magnificent, ridiculous. So they do like every possible color of Jell-O you could ever do.
They're beautiful.
And then do them in tiny, thin layers. And then these things are so tall. They're probably like 3 inches tall, like big, fat cubes. The kids love those.
Yeah, it's the most cheerful, bright rainbow layer Jell-O you've ever seen.
And that is like been a part of Easter since the Jenkses do it, but I don't. Yeah. So I've never once made that. And I don't think I've made a Jell-O salad. Really? I mean, I don't know when I might have done that.
I think I probably have. I think I pulled out one of my grandma's recipes, the one that had the pineapple and the mandarin oranges. And it was probably it wasn't green. It's probably orange or something.
I remember the green one. I remember people making the green one.
Yeah, with like Cool Whip or something dolloped on top. Is real bad.
Yeah, my grandma had a really luscious one that was like pink Jell-O with Cool Whip with marshmallows. That was all sort of flurried up together. But somehow.
Yeah. It hasn't survived the tradition in your house.
I have not. I think I might have done it in England just out of weird patriotism.
Yeah. I did it a few times, I think, out of just nostalgia, and no one ate it.
Yeah.
So, again, speaking of times changing,
yeah.
I don't know that my kids have ever asked for Jell-O anything. Now, if they were at the Jenks house and they had those gorgeous, I mean, especially if you're smaller, like, that would be something they would have to have every year.
Yeah.
Just looking forward to those bright, cheerful, rainbow layered Jell-O cubes.
Exactly. And that's a thing that's really fun for the kids. And they used to do them in eggs because you can get those egg molds.
Oh, yeah.
I think it started with that, but then there were too many kids, so then they moved to the big
just
fat
need to cut
cubes.
them into squares.
Yeah. But anyway.
Oh, fun.
It seems like it needs to have a place there, but.
Do you ever serve anything else like fruit or is that pretty much your menu?
Oh, man. I mean.
It just calls. It just
seems
feel like
I
grapes
would have
should
fruit.
be on the menu or
something. It seems
something.
like grapes would need to be there. It just feels like that's sort of a meal too.
Yeah.
We're having grapes or something. Having a green salad. I don't know. It's kind of one of those ones where you have too many dishes.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's similar to Thanksgiving. It can become too much.
Yeah.
And you want to keep it.
Oh, and asparagus. You have to have
well-rounded.
asparagus.
Yep.
That's an important piece. And I've done different versions of asparagus over the years, but that one's vital.
Mm-hmm. Asparagus is delicious.
And so springy. So strawberries.
Strawberries
need to be on there. Seems like they should be on your Easter plate.
Yes.
Anyway.
So that Knox can also have his moment in the sunshine. Shout out to Knox, who mentioned rolls or biscuits. I guess rolls. That was his thing.
Yeah.
He is correct that I'm sure if you had a ham menu, you had rolls.
Oh, yeah.
So if you were serving ham, which I mean, think back years, I can think to the present because we are still serving ham, although I really need to try this grilled lamb. What would you serve if you were doing ham?
Okay, then I would do hot potatoes of some sort. I would definitely do rolls. I would probably do a green salad. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be doing like orzo salad feels like it's weirdly off topic.
I would agree with that. My children would agree.
So I would probably do a fun green salad and asparagus and hot potatoes. And Jemima made an incredible hot potato salad that I would totally do that. I can't remember what all was in it, but it was like bacon and some chopped pickles in a hot potato salad. And it was
okay. I need to get that recipe from her.
Yeah, me too, actually. Because I could have just eaten that.
Yeah.
Till
like a meal on
died.
its own.
It's so good.
Okay.
So good.
Listeners, I will try to hunt this recipe down and put it on
and it would be
the website.
really good with ham. It would be delicious.
Yes.
So,
and it's different. Perfect.
Because you can do your plain old mashed potatoes or cheesy potatoes or roasted potatoes. Nobody ever minds a potato.
No. And kids love to see a potato there. Potato and ham. I mean, that's kind of the number one thing that they would, some would say rolls, I would think would be with that too.
You would have to have rolls.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to call out the asparagus or the salad, but they need to have a well-rounded childhood.
Yeah.
We do potatoes. Usually I actually love the Pioneer Woman mashed potatoes. I mean, not because they're anything special. You could honestly make it however you want. Of course, hers has like cream cheese and cream and who knows what, just to really make them taste delicious. But the idea was, and I saw this recipe years ago, put it all in a casserole dish, dot it with butter, and just heat it whenever you're ready. I mean, so you could literally make them the day before and have all the dishes done, washed, and all you do is pull out that little casserole, put it in on low heat to heat until it's done, until it's, you can put it in while you're at church.
If there's enough liquid in your potatoes, they do reheat nicely. If there's not, then they get dry.
Oh, yeah. So that would be key, is making sure you have enough milk or cream or something. Yeah, that's true. And I think when she reheated them, always put foil on top.
Okay.
I think maybe you would pull it off at the end. But I've used that numerous times, and they're so delicious, and it's just so easy if you are making everything, if you have the whole meal to do. The other recommendations, I would say, first of all, do you have a favorite ham recipe that you use?
I'm a big flunky about ham. I mean, I don't know why this is, but I like a ham dinner, but the thing I like least about it is the ham. So it's like I'll go down the buffet line and I'll basically skip the ham and just have everything
maybe a little morsel. Potato salad, where is that?
When I have done hams, I generally use the Ina Garten, I think it's a Virginia, like baked Virginia ham or something like that.
I was going to mention that one too.
Yeah,
it's very good.
That's a good one,
It's
and it's really straightforward. And you're basically you just pour something over it and heat it up because you're not cooking it.
It's so easy in America to do a ham because the ones we buy in the store are fully cooked. You're literally doing a glaze.
This is why I'm going back to rethink my comments earlier, because I'm like, of course we probably were able to buy hams. I don't know but I think
it just wasn't traditional for everybody to do that.
Yeah, it wasn't traditional. But I think the other thing is, here you can't buy raw ham, and there you could.
Yeah.
So I think that was the key difference. But I'm sure I did not make anybody gammon for Easter. So I probably went to the butcher and got a proper ham.
Yeah. But so funny. The baked Virginia ham on barefootcontessa.com is a glaze. I think it has mango chutney, orange zest, orange juice, brown sugar. Yeah. The Pioneer Woman has one on her website too, and it's very similar. It just doesn't have the mango and orange, but it's a brown sugar mustard type glaze. And I think with both of them, maybe you dot it with cloves, which would give it a little flavor, but also kind of makes it have that traditional look. Yeah. But they're both so easy. Yeah. So I can post a link to both of those.
And ham's quick. I mean, you just kind of put it in until it's hot and, the glaze is bubbly.
Yep.
But I think the thing I loved about switching to the lamb is it's so springy. And ham to me is a very kind of a cold weather
A lot of times people are serving that at Christmas time.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's fun at fall and winter, and it's cozy and stuff. And so I think that was the fun thing for me, is like, actually, this is like really bright flavors. Yeah. And so anyway, that was...
Yeah, all the herbs you mentioned make you think of spring.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And if you're serving strawberries and grapes and salad, it does make you think of spring more than ham.
And it is funny, too, because it's a daytime meal.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Christmas dinner to me is like you're going to be probably eating it in the dark. I mean, even if it's afternoon, it's like it still
late.
gets dark early and, you're thinking candlelight and like that sort of a mood. Whereas Easter really is a daytime meal and it's a spring daytime meal, so
She's
anyway, it's just
convincing
a
me
different
to switch to lamb
Oh
this
no,
year.
just picture all that wheatgrass in the middle of your
I
table.
know. So you want ham and hot potatoes. Well,
Everyone's like,
true.
yes, we do.
Yes, we do. When I'm thinking through the ham menu, it is very similar to what we would serve at Christmas,
Right.
possibly.
Right.
The ham, the hot potatoes, we're not really going to probably pick a green bean casserole, but all those just hot, soft vegetables.
Yeah.
You want something a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. And we've settled into a different Christmas routine. But yes, I still agree with you.
We have to. My kids, speaking of asking your kids, like ask your family, I think it's so important to just kind of do like a little, what do you call it, a debrief after the day is over. Like, what were your favorite things? Just to maybe make a mental note for next year, because we did that with Christmas, or was it Thanksgiving? Anyway, they all voted for ribs.
Okay.
Brown sugar and bourbon ribs. That was, do you remember when I texted you in a SOS about apple butter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I could not find, I went to 3 grocery stores and could not find apple butter. And so I texted Bekah, just, what is
like, you're
happening?
Not in the South anymore.
Where is apple butter in this town? And was it Judah in the back seat who was like, what is apple butter?
I know. I've never, yeah, apple butter is not part of our native repertoire.
Oh, well, I need to introduce everyone to brown sugar and bourbon ribs. Okay. With an apple butter is in the glaze. It's like brown sugar, sticky glaze.
Okay.
Oh,
sounds
my word.
Good.
My kids, it's the favorite, the best ribs they've ever had.
Okay.
Made them numerous times, usually like for a birthday or something. And so like using baby back ribs. And so it became a tradition. And then we had a vote, like, well, what are we going to make for, I don't know, it's either Thanksgiving or Christmas. Ribs. Like, what? What about the turkey or the ham? No, we want ribs.
Oh, my word. That is funny.
So that's been a fun thing. So at some point I'll have to post the recipe. I think my daughter, I'm going to have her on to do a podcast with me, and she's going to talk all about that because it's one of her favorite meals, and she's taken it into her marriage, and now her husband thinks it's like the greatest thing ever. And so I think I'm going to have her share that menu and tell us all about how she does it and what she serves with it.
That's fun.
All of that. But yeah, it's true that finding out what your family loves is a huge, important part of the whole situation. Before we move forward, a big thank you to the sponsors for supporting today's episode. Are you searching for hands-on activities to help your kids explore the practical side of science? Look no further than your kitchen. Inquisicook blends food science and culinary arts into an engaging program that puts delicious food on the family table. Let Inquisicook do the teaching with lesson videos, reliable recipes, and assessment tools that put students on track for success. Their online platform is easy to navigate and optimized for mobile, so the learning experience can move from the classroom to the kitchen without a hitch. Inquisicook turns curious students into intuitive cooks, not just recipe followers. Say goodbye to the tyranny of the ingredients list and say hello to utilizing what's in season, what's on sale, or what's in the fridge. Visit Inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. Today's culture shifts like sand, but New St. Andrews College is established on Christ, the immovable rock. The college is a premier institution that forges evangelical leaders who don't fear or hate the world. Guided by God's Word, equipped with the genius of classical liberal arts and God-honoring wisdom, with a faculty dedicated to academic rigor and to God's kingdom, New St. Andrews College offers an education that frees people. To find out more, visit nsa.edu. Okay, so how did I delve into that? I think we were talking about whether to keep it like Christmas or not.
Oh, right. And that's the thing that I do like about the meal being a little bit more, I don't know, it is different.
Yes.
Than
I
think Thanksgiving.
For sure.
And also different than Christmas.
So if you're repeating that at Easter, maybe think about shaking it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I have tried different things. I know before on other places I've mentioned doing scalloped ham and potatoes. You can do that with leftover ham, which is so delicious. But a couple of times we've had a picnic outside and I've actually made for the main dish scalloped ham and potatoes because my kids love them. And served a bright green salad and a fruit salad and deviled eggs. And it was just a more summery menu.
Well, that's fun.
That recipe is a favorite from pioneerwoman.com. So I'll have to list that one too. Or maybe it was on Food Network. But anyway, it's one of her recipes. But speaking of hot potatoes and making it ahead of time, I did research scalloped potatoes because that's a new and different way that you could do it. Maybe make it a little more special because I don't think most people make scalloped potatoes as much as they do mashed potatoes. But I will warn you about gray slices. Have you ever had gray slices?
If you have the wrong kind of pan, right?
Well, maybe. For me, it's because I let them sit in the air too long. And I guess they oxidized or whatever.
Yeah, you have to keep it in water.
Yeah. So for one Easter, we had a huge, huge crowd coming over. And I was just thinking, I was real proud of myself because I was making the day before.
Yeah.
And I did look it up on southernliving.com. It does tell you can make scalloped potatoes the day before. Now, did I read this ahead of time? No. Did not read all of the recommendations. I just knew I was going to be well ahead of the game and make the scalloped potatoes ahead of time. And so I sliced everything. And by the time I made 2 13 by 9s, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
Did the whole thing, put them in the refrigerator. The next day I cooked them and they tasted okay, but they were great. I mean, just the color, because I had left them out far too long. And like you said, what are you supposed to do? Tell us the hot tip, Bekah. What did I do wrong?
Just keep your peeled potatoes in water all the time.
As soon as you slice them.
Yeah. 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 And I just even if I peel them, I just put all of them in a big bowl of water and then pull one out, slice it, dump it back in, take one out, slice it, put it back
smart.
in.
I read that you can put a little, a tablespoon of white wine vinegar or lemon juice in the water. Have you ever done that? I don't think I have.
People say that about apples too. And I'm not, you can put lemon on it or whatever. But if you just keep them submerged, they're fine. But I haven't tried
without the squish of lemon in there. You could, but I think that they're fine even if you don't.
So the scalloped potatoes though, I mean, the ones that I do, they're only about halfway in liquid. So if you did it ahead of time, it still would turn gray.
That's true. Yeah, they would have to be completely submerged.
I wonder if you could just cook them the day before and then reheat, like you were saying about the...
I have read that too, that you can reheat. They're not good frozen, the texture doesn't come out right.
Yeah, because of the cream.
But I have read that you can cook and reheat. So I need to try it at some point when it's not Easter. Yeah. Because I know I've done it with the mashed potatoes and they turn out great. So I'll have to try it with the scalloped potatoes. I just have to keep them from turning gray because I've done that twice now.
Yeah, that's a pain.
One for Easter when everyone was coming over.
I have struggled with scalloped potatoes because the one that I do doesn't really have a recipe. So you heat the cream and season it, till
That'd be delicious.
Until it's extra punchy because so much absorbs into the potato. So you want it really flavored. But that salt doesn't, once you get the cream to where it tastes yes, that's salty enough, just a little too salty. Then you pour it out and there's half a cup of salt sludge at the bottom. And you're oh no, because that just went in.
Right. And you need salt for the potatoes.
So what I've started doing is heating the cream on the stove and dissolving the salt in it. And that is an easy way to make sure that it is, in fact, seasoned through. And that's why you keep adding more and more salt. And this doesn't seem to be doing anything because it's all going to the bottom. But if you heat it on the stove and then... Because usually it's just salt, pepper, and nutmeg that I put in there. But,
yeah.
So I don't know what yours is.
Hot tip.
But that is a hot tip. And make it just a little extra salty and a little extra peppery, and then it will be perfect.
That reminds me of the time I was in California at a great aunt's house, and she served tea. Well, it was very unsweet tea, but she knew the girls would want sugar, so she let us spoon sugar, and I put my sugar in and stirred it and tasted it, and it was bitter and unsweet, so I added some more sugar. Anyway, I did this innumerable times and just finally was what is wrong with this tea? Kids, they want it to taste like syrup.
Yeah.
by the time I got to the bottom, it
was like syrup.
It was like a quarter cup of sugar sitting there.
Yep.
Didn't dissolve at all. And, I drank unsweet tea the entire time. But yes, heating the sauce would be good. And then do you do cheese in yours or just the cream sauce?
Yeah, like a Gruyere cheese.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be so good.
It's very good.
Do you have a favorite recipe for deviled eggs?
I feel like I probably do. I feel like I've traveled around in the deviled egg department. But didn't we do that? No, it wasn't for Lex and Belle's wedding. That was for Gemma's wedding.
Oh, you did deviled eggs because hers was an Irish theme.
It was, and it was a brunch. It was like a morning. So I was trying to figure out how to do eggs for 400 people in advance, and the only way is to devil them. But we did. I think we added smoked salmon to the egg and dill, and that was really good.
Oh,
maybe some bacon.
I've seen bacon and chives recently, and like a little dollop of like one dash of some kind of sauce.
Yeah,
hot sauce or something.
Yeah, I do love a deviled egg. So really, I like a deviled egg in many formats.
Yeah. I think I could branch out. I'm just now getting to that place in my life. I've always made the exact same recipe from southernliving.com.
Okay.
No, not .com. The Ultimate Southern Living Cookbook.
Okay. All right.
The exact same deviled egg recipe. Dare I deviate? No.
Is it like a little mayo, a little mustard, a little salt?
Sweet pickle relish.
Oh, okay.
And a little sprinkle of paprika on top to give it some color. And then I went somewhere and saw somebody's cute little deviled egg where they piped, the little filling. And then there was a little cube of bacon and a little something like a chive and a little spring. It just looked so elegant and pretty, and it was delicious. And then I had second thoughts about perfect recipe.
I know.
It's like, well, maybe I can try a different recipe at some point in life.
Just be safe and still make the old ones.
Exactly.
And then also try the new ones.
Exactly. Put them side by side and then make sure, that my husband approves of whatever the newfangled thing is. For vegetables, we talked about asparagus. We talked about salads. Do you have any particular favorites, or do you just kind of pick something that...
I feel like I pick something that feels right, but I kind of go through phases. And salads, I love putting whole herb leaves in salads, especially with something like this where you want it to be really springy and whatever. It's fun to have parsley and mint and things in there. Champagne vinegar to make the vinaigrette is really good. And I feel like I've been on a kick of shallots, champagne vinegar, and some Dijon mustard and salt and pepper and olive oil.
Really
and it really is just stupidly good, especially if you throw some goat cheese in and some fruit like strawberries. I'd probably do like greens and strawberries and goat cheese and shallots
for spring.
And then something crunchy, some kind of a nut, slivered almonds or something. So, I don't know. It sounds good and fresh.
Yes. My twin sister, she always says, you don't even have to have a recipe for a salad. As long as you have a good cheese, a nut, a fruit, and your dressing, you're good.
Yep.
Just think that combo. And it was so funny because Lex came over one time and he was helping put together a salad. He's like, we need a cheese, a nut. Do you have any dried fruit, Mom? Like, yes, sir. We're missing fruit.
Yep.
Aunt Ruth says we need some fruit.
Yep. Exactly.
So everything you mentioned was that salad, though. I mean, you just pick.
Yeah.
And whipping up a homemade vinaigrette takes literally less than 5 minutes, and it's so much better than anything store bought.
Yeah,
so much
and
better,
so much variety. And like I said, and it's funny to me how much the vinegars change it. But I've been on a champagne vinegar kick lately.
Yeah. Speaking of vinegar, do you have a certain high quality one that you buy, or do you just go with whatever's at the grocery store?
Champagne vinegar, I have to go with whatever is there because I only have it in one store as far as I know. So I just use that. And apple cider vinegar, I usually do the Bragg's or whatever, Bragg's, I guess. Yeah.
Back to the rolls. Do you have any favorites? I know you have a story. You can tell me favorite recipes on rolls if you have one, or bread or whatever. But I know you have a story about resurrection rolls as well. And tell us what resurrection rolls are. So jump into that whole topic.
Yeah, well, the resurrection rolls were a good idea at the time. I had seen it somewhere, and my kids were little enough that I thought they would think it was a kick. But It was not, I mean, it was like some kind of a dough. I don't remember if it was almost like a cinnamon roll dough, I feel like. Like it was a little bit sweet and soft.
That'd be a good breakfast for
Yeah.
Easter, maybe.
Well, that's what I was doing it for. I thought, this will be a perfect Easter morning thing. So I think I did do cinnamon roll dough. And then you wrap it around a large marshmallow. I don't know how I found those large marshmallows because they didn't have them in England at the time. So maybe I imported them. Maybe I'm like made someone bring me a bag of marshmallows. But,
contraband from the U.S.
I probably did because my parents usually came in February. So I probably made them do it. Anyway, and then you wrap it around this marshmallow and you put them in a pan, like a 9x13 or more like a lasagna pan style. And then when you bake them, the marshmallow melts, kind of oozes out the bottom, makes a kind of goopy sweet sauce for it, but it also makes a hollow roll like the tomb on Easter morning. So I was in England. I had a half-size fridge. So, like the little under the counter level
This is like
fridge.
College.
Yeah.
College kids.
This is like your office fridge. That's what they put in my house.
Oh, my word.
So,
Speaking of perspective, all of you can count your blessings.
I know.
American refrigerators.
And then one guy one time was bragging to us about he had this really huge American style fridge. And I was all hyped up for a big old, Sub-Zero kind of situation. It was just a fridge. It was like a single freezer up top.
Oh, my word. The ones that we're all trying to upgrade from. Like if you have one of those old styles, like, what I really need is this huge stainless steel. I've read one time that the reason that they have small fridges in England is because they don't cook. I don't know if that's still the case. They don't cook as much. Like they eat out quite a bit. Is that common?
There's certainly a lot more prepared food in the grocery store than I have ever seen here.
Maybe they heat
odd.
And eat real quick.
I felt stunned by how much prepared food there was in England. And then I bought a Jamie Oliver cookbook and felt very vindicated that I was right because he said in the intro, England eats more prepared food than the rest of Europe combined or something like it. So it did seem like it was a lot of that. But
it's more a part of their culture.
People always told me it was because they were a small island and they didn't have room. And I was like, you do. You have room.
Small island. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
But
teensy tiny little apartments here have a full-size fridge.
They were for sure saving space in my kitchen because I only had to have under the counter.
That is wild at the family of 7.
Yeah.
And company.
Yeah. And then, so anyway, but it was still chilly, like spring. And so I made those rolls the night before, covered it in saran wrap, put them outside to stay cold. And then I was going to bake them in the morning. And when we went out in the morning to collect them, it was like, lo, the pan is empty, like the tomb on Easter morning. And I think there was some strewn about saran wrap. So I think a fox ate it.
Oh, he had a real good celebration.
He did. But I was like, well, it is sort of an Easter morning theme.
Your kids never forgot the lesson.
So I can't vouch for how delicious the resurrection rolls would have been had I baked them.
Had you actually had them come to fruition.
Animal has had a gut full of dough, really.
And marshmallows. Unmelted marshmallows.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So resurrection rolls. Have you ever made hot cross buns?
I have not.
I've made them just a couple of times. I think both of my younger sisters, Esther and Lydia, have made them and handed them out to neighbors, which I think is really fun.
Yeah.
And made them with their kids and had them as a tradition. And you can add raisins or not or whatever. But the cross on the top, I think you can either mark it and it's just part of the dough. But the one I made, it was frosting.
Yeah, I've seen it with frosting.
And so it's a little bit sweeter. Wouldn't call it a sweet roll, but it's definitely not. It's not like a regular roll. But I think you could still serve it on your Easter dinner table.
Oh, yeah, I suppose you could.
But those are kind of fun. It's just not a regular tradition that we've made.
No, I haven't. I haven't either. I think the rolls I always did were just something soft. A nice, soft, fluffy.
Yeah.
And
for me, I don't have a set one. Do you have a set one? I don't. I don't know why. This is the place I experiment.
Yeah,
I don't know
do.
why. On Easter,
I have
shouldn't
a dinner
experiment,
roll
but I do.
That I generally go back to. But you're right. I probably just change it up on Easter. I will say, yeah, Knox one time, he might have, I don't know which side, if Judah or Knox was on the flatbread roll side, but I do remember one Easter, I think Knox ate like 16 rolls. I mean, it was something really disgusting.
Well, he probably didn't get any lamb.
And he did lose them.
Oh, yes.
Later
yes,
that afternoon.
Did.
And Ben was like, you are cleaning that one up, my friend. Because you brought that on yourself. 16 rolls.
That's
He
so bad.
was like lying on the couch in pain.
A lesson on greed and gluttony on Easter Sunday.
I know. I think he had merely tried to get up off the couch, and that's what caused it.
Mere movement. That's all it took. Those rolls were pretty good.
Yeah,
we need that recipe.
He ate a lot of those in his 5th grade year or whatever it was. It was like
I've definitely had to send my kids, which they're all grown now. So they're all 18. Max has hit 18. It's weird because
that's nuts.
I can say they're all adults now. It used to, you always had to make the qualification. Well, young adults. Max is still, teenager. Well, it's funny when you turn 18. Like one time, he's grown. He's been driving everywhere. One time I sent him to the doctor, just like, I don't even know what it was, just something little he had to check out. Well, they're like, well, we have to have your parent here or, or maybe a letter or some kind of confirmation that they can see him.
Yeah.
I was like, he's like 17 3/4. But I understood. Then he goes at 18 and I get a text or phone call like, well, we have to have his permission to talk to you. We can't disclose any information to you until he tells us it's okay.
Yep.
It's like, well, that was a fast change. Hey, Max, tell him it's okay for your mom.
That's great.
To talk to him on the phone about you.
That's awesome.
He thought that was a real proud moment. He got a real kick out of that.
I like
it's okay if you talk to my mom. But anyway, how did I digress? I have no idea what I was saying. We were talking about the adults. I really had a point in all of that. And then I started talking about how they're all 18 now. I don't know. Something about the kids growing up. But anyway, okay, well, lost that train of thought. I think we were talking about Knox and how he lost his rolls.
Yeah, he did. His 12 rolls.
12. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Okay, I've got it back. I remember when my kids were little and having to just kind of have that thought of check their plates because all they would end up with when they went through the line was ham and rolls and maybe a dollop of potatoes. And so there was nary a green thing or a fresh thing on their plate. So, the rolls were quite the hit.
Yeah.
Do you ever do anything special with butter, butter?
Usually I would have, it depends. Sometimes I like to do like a salt and rosemary on top, like a butter, salt and rosemary on top.
Yeah.
But generally people want, if you just give them a plain roll, even if it has something good on top, they still want to put butter inside, So even if I did that on top, I would still put butter on the table. But then I often would do just a plain roll and then do honey butter or butter in a fun jam or something like that.
Honey butter is so good because it's soft. The honey keeps it spreadable.
Yeah.
Which you can have spreadable regular butter too. But in the cold weather environment we're in, it is hard to keep it. I mean, when you take butter out and put it on the counter, it doesn't really soften.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes.
Not right this minute.
Not like
Not
the
in
South.
my kitchen.
Sometimes it's still hard as a rock. So, you kind of have to keep that in mind. But if you mix it with something that keeps it spreadable.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, we've made it to desserts. Do you have a classic dessert that you would serve at Easter? What do you think of?
I often will do a selection of desserts. And generally, I like to do basic things, but do them like miniature so that people could have a couple things.
That's a great
idea. And it's
idea.
also a fun way of serving it.
Yeah.
So I like to always have something chocolate, something lemon, and then maybe, something else. Maybe a cheesecake, maybe a carrot cake. But one of the things I often did when hosting is like a little it's like a little miniature lemon tart where you make little meringue caps, and you can make them the day before. And then you make like a lemon curd filling, and then you make these little like kind of freestanding, it's almost like a fortune cookie texture, like a little crisp shell.
Okay.
And it's something tricky where you have to mold them really fast when they get it out of the oven, which is why it's sort of like a fortune. Have you ever tried to make a fortune cookie?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, it's a big, huge fiddle. Half the time you fold it wrong and the message is halfway stuck out and it hardens really fast.
Okay.
So you make them like in a little circle on like a silpat kind of a mat, and it's a thin, almost like a little batter that you spread in a circle, and then when it comes out of the oven, you just bake it for like 2 minutes or something. When it comes out, it's moldable for just a minute. And so for these little things, I'd put them over the backside of a miniature muffin tin.
Okay.
So if you turn your mini muffin tin upside down, then you can just lay it over different ones and it forms a little cup. And you can make that in advance. You make the lemon curd in advance and you make these little meringue toppers in advance. And then the day of, you can assemble it, put a little curd and a little meringue top. And that's just a nice little kind of a 2-bite, but real zingy lemon, which is really good because lemon curd is so bright and delicious.
That's the perfect end to a heavy meal.
Yeah. And then I do you might do like a little chocolate mousse or something really kind of decadent, but in a little tiny something. So I have some little like miniature, they're almost like little cup and saucers, like little miniature cup and saucers that are cute, blue and white. And then if I did those with a really dark chocolate, something with a little spoon. And then you could even do I've done little miniature carrot cakes, like a little kind of, in the end, it's about the size of a cupcake, but you do like little rounds. So it's not the shape of a cupcake. It more is like a little cake.
Do you have a certain mold for it?
I think I just would do that in a sheet pan and then cut it with a cookie cutter into little rounds and then frost them like little cakes. And then
I love the miniature idea.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I haven't done that before.
Because they're so, it kind of elevates it. It's like you could do a pretty basic recipe.
It reminds you of a fabulous party.
Yeah.
Or a wedding
and
or
it's
something.
Just fun and different. And it makes it seem fancier than, a sheet cake pan is fine, but it's like, it is kind of a.
Well, and then when I want to taste every dessert that there is.
Yeah.
And so usually I'm getting a little bite of this cake and a little bite of this cake.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Your plate just looks like a little bit of a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
But if I got one of your different little miniatures, your plate is going to look really elegant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. And then it's like somebody could have just a little tiny bit of dessert if they want, or they could have one of everything if they want. And so, I've done little cheesecake things but it's like if you just have a favorite cheesecake recipe, you can do it, but small or whatever, just so it's fun and different.
I love that idea. I think growing up, my mom always did a carrot cake with cream cheese frosting, but it was the 3-layer.
Yeah.
And my husband likes a coconut cake. You think of kind of those bright spring flavors when you're thinking of Easter, like you mentioned lemon or maybe something lime. You just think of something fresh. He did coconut cake growing up, which is not my favorite until I watched this show. I think it was on Food Network literally 20-something years ago. It's called The Ultimate Recipe Showdown, and a lady from Texas won, and hers was called, Put the Lime in the Coconut Cake. Oh. I was like, well, Brian likes coconut cake. I'll try this. Yeah. Long story short, it had lime juice, lime zest, coconut milk, just some different things that I'd never tried before. I have made it so many times, and I've changed it to make it better in my opinion. But, now I toast the coconut to put on the outside. I've lessened the sugar. I've added this, added that, until I really have created my own lime coconut recipe. Perfect. And I will say that I am now a coconut cake person.
Okay.
That's the one I usually pull out at Easter is the coconut lime cake. But I think I may try it in the little miniatures like you're talking about this year. Fun. That would be really fun. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to post some of these recipes. I'll have to get Bekah to email me some of her links or take pictures of handwritten cards. Right. We'll have to hunt down Jemima for her potato salad.
Exactly.
Not let her leave town until she's handed it over.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much, Bekah, for joining me. It's been so much fun to hear all of your tips and advice and delicious recipes.
Oh, always fun to be here.
Until next time, bye for now. Please share this episode with a friend and leave a rating below. Thanks for your time.